Yes, people, welcome back to another episode of That Gunners Talk. And we're here after Arsenal pick up the first win of the season against Newcastle in 4 fixtures, finally getting 3 points as we secure second place finish for the 24-25 season and secure Champions League football for the next season. Here with me after a great result, we have KP, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to give our thoughts and opinions about Newcastle game. And also, too, we want to branch off, talk a little bit more about the bigger picture as that's Arsenal's final home game of the season. Before I get into anything, KP, how are you first of all, and what do you think about the new kit? Because I haven't really got your opinions on the new kit, and it was the first day that we've seen it on the pitch. What do you think of how it looks put together?
Obviously, I'm blessed. I'm good. I'm happy that we got the 3 points. Obviously, secured second place. I'm not gonna be, and obviously more time secured Champions League and second place at the same time. And obviously, I'll do this for us. Obviously, if you're new, you're returning, you haven't already hit that subscribe button, drop a like on this video. Subscribe to both Gunner Street and K-Paz Pauser. But yeah, I like the kit, man. Yeah, we haven't spoken about it. I like this home kit, man. Like when it first came out, I kind of looked at it. I was like, obviously, it's because it's new. You always have you're a bit skeptical. But then as I like, looked at it, I'm like, I like it. It has a smooth,
Yeah.
like
Has
like
a smooth,
smooth,
like a
nice,
crisp
soft
red
feeling.
look to it. The
Yeah,
letters are nice. The little A, the
yeah.
Arsenal at the back,
The little
where the
white
color
on
is
the
nice.
shoulders,
Yeah, it's nice.
and like different to like it being like fully red and then white a little bit. Like it's a bit. I mean, a bit. I like it still. It's
Yeah,
just giving me
from the other
ready.
leagues I've seen, there's some good kits. Arsenal gone pretty simple this for the next season. So I mean, I like the kits. We'll see. Let's see how the summer looks, and then I'll probably determine how I really invest in terms of my money
I can't.
financially in the kit.
I'm gonna grab it still. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
grab it
grab
very
the. I
soon.
want to grab the kit, but bro, I want to grab the kit with like a feeling of like, you know what I mean. I grabbed this kit because I said, man,
Basically,
this.
you need a 1-2 signing, see
Yeah,
some buzz
you
into
go,
your feeling, and then
like, come
then
on, bro, you gotta juice it up.
watch
You
that
gotta juice
first
it up.
preseason game, see us pop, some mad football, and say, "Do you know what? All right, we're ready." Still, I know what you're saying.
Like,
Still,
come on, like, I'm not, you're not gonna eat. Like, it took me a while to get this kit. It took me to like mid, almost early October to get this one. So, hey, listen, people. Not to really side talk too much. We're gonna get into the Newcastle game. KP, I want to start off first half. You went with our strongest possible lineup. No Timber, so you have White at right back. I don't know. We could argue who's stronger between White and Timber, but arguably that's our starting 11 for the season. It was a difficult game against Newcastle. It was always going to be difficult, especially how they like to set up and play that low block against Arsenal and use their pace on the wings to transition well. But for me, KP, I don't know how you feel, but I just want to start it off by saying I hated that first half performance because it's the final game of the season and it's a performance we've seen week in, week out. And we talk so much about players not being the right fit and the right profiles, but it's starting to get to a point where I think even if the right player profiles come in, if we play football like that next season, it's going to be very hard for us to really win the majors we want to achieve. That's what that 13 draws in the league this season. Not good enough.
14,
Yeah, we could count that to injuries, red cards, and stuff like that, and I
14,
take that into consideration. 14. But I do think a lot of that has to do with Arsenal leading in games and not putting games to bed because either we don't create enough chances or we don't take our chances. Hopefully, our personnel changes that, but I think also tactics has to play a big factor in that in terms of creating more chances for quality players like Martinelli, Saka, instead of them having to rely on a one chance, two chance in a game. What are your things? What are your thoughts and opinions on that, KP?
like if I'm honest with you, Steph, yeah, like, and obviously everyone's gonna say I'm an Arteta, whatever in it, like whatever you want to say, like in or
No,
he
it's your
can't do
opinion.
no
It's your opinion. It's
he
your
can't
opinion.
do no wrong in my eyes or whatever. But
No, it's your opinion.
I honestly feel like because obviously I've seen over a 5-year span, yeah, I've seen in the first 3 years, even though when our team wasn't that good, we still played some very good, games of football. Like it was more our defensive ability to, not concede goals, and the players we had was more the problem. But in terms of how we looked going forward, and how we used to play, it was great. Like when we think about back to Aubameyang and Lacazette days and stuff like that, the first couple of seasons, and also in that first 2021 season and 21-22 season and 22-23 season. I think the problem is that these players now, like, because you think, as you said, the thing, our lineup and our squad isn't really too different to what we had last season,
Yep.
and isn't really too different to than what we had the season before. bar like the goalkeeper, obviously Rice, Timber Havertz. Everyone else is pretty much the same, and it's got to a point where like you have to realize teams set up against Arsenal knowing that like they watch enough tape to know these certain players in without the space, because any player with space, like if it's an open game, any footballer is good. You have to realize this. Like if you have time on the ball to receive it, to turn, to think about what you want to do, to drive and do things, everyone is good. Like there's no one that's going to be rubbish. But when you're either getting pressed or you're facing a team that has compact shape, you need more inventive, more risk-taking type players that want to do things when they get the ball, that want to take a risk, that want to make something happen, not that they just want to shed the responsibility away to the next man that they're passing the ball to. Because at the end of the day, like, yes, shifting the ball side to side does move the team side to side, but it just moves them side to side. It doesn't pull them out. Like sometimes you hope like to have a false nine and they drop into a pocket and maybe you hope a defender follow them, but not every team defends like Bielsa where they're man to man and they follow players so distinctively. So do you know what I mean? If you're not in a dangerous position and the ball's not in a dangerous position, players aren't going to follow. Arsenal have been found out in that way. And I feel like for me, when I've watched like us against, yes, obviously teams play us. You can say Newcastle in the first half. I think they were very good. Like Arsenal had the fair share of the ball, but Newcastle, when they got the ball, were incisive, were moving with intent, and obviously they were exploiting the game plan which they have. Which obviously Arsenal have the ball and we're playing more of a high line. They're playing the ball in behind, getting the ball to Gordon and Barnes, picking up the ball in pockets, and it was a struggle for Arsenal to mark Newcastle because of their shape that they had. They came in a 5 at the back, and I hate when teams have a 5 at the back because I know they're just coming to frustrate and sit back in the tight block. And obviously, everyone's has their right to do whatever they want to do. I have no problem with it from their side, but I just hate playing against it because I know these players are not good at the game. I'm not gonna like. I'm over expecting something different from these group of players. Like when they face, like when I know we're gonna play team. Like that's why in Champions League was a bit different because I know we're gonna play open team. So they're gonna have the space and time on the ball. Then it's about your individual quality. Can it really shine? More time it can, because not everyone that you're gonna be playing is gonna be some defensive monster. But the difference with the teams we've been playing, when we play PSG, those Vitinhas, the João Neveses, the Fabio Ruizes, that when they get the ball, they want to try things, innit? Like they're not. Yes, they will retain the ball when they need to, but they will then they get the ball, look up, play a clip pass in behind. They will get the ball, fizz the ball in between the lines, and sometimes Arsenal might win it back, like Declan Rice or Party, but they're gonna try it again. With Arsenal, like our players don't play passes into dangerous areas where potentially a player can lose the ball.
And that was what was really killing me in the first half, because even Martinelli, people like to criticize Martinelli a lot, but he made that run. He's made that run multiple times this season. Declan Rice has made that run multiple times this season. And I think Odegaard gets a lot of criticism, and I didn't think Odegaard had his like most standout game today. I didn't think he was bad either. Like I wouldn't criticize him saying, "Oh, he played garbage" or anything like that. I don't think he played bad, but I think he is one of the players that thrives off of players making that run. The Liverpool game earlier, last game, Martinelli was making those runs. He was thriving off of playing those through balls to Martinelli. So I think maybe potentially if we get a striker who likes to make those runs in behind, maybe a Gokares, maybe a Sesko, whoever, or you have Martinelli off the bench, he uses pace in a different way off the bench when we upgrade that position, or maybe you have a touchline winger who can help Declan Rice and create that space for Declan Rice to run in behind. Maybe you're looking at a different prospect. But I just think
I don't know. Do you know? Do you know why I disagree? Sorry to interrupt you, bro. Because the difference with last week was, fam, that first half against Liverpool was, fam, Stefan, you know what happened off the camera on the call when I called you at halftime.
Trust me, you know where my head was.
So like, let's imagine what Mikel was saying to those players in that dressing room for them to come out and play the way they played in the second half. They were shameful. Like you're down 2-0. You have to play forward. You have to, like, we never seen Martinelli play up front. You play a player that's going to run in behind. I do agree with you, but then it's also you have to play it because we're losing. When we're 0-0 and when we're 1-0 up, as you're saying, none of these players still want to take those risks.
So you think it's like a personnel?
Like I think
who you're more leaning that needs the most.
I think it's just like as I said. I think I said to you, like, for me, Saka and Rice should be the only certified starters in the midfield and in the attack. Obviously, Odegaard is going to start because he's our captain, so that's fine. But I believe that he needs to have a player in his position that is of a quality level that's the same or if not more. So there's a threat of his position. So when that player does play and they produce, it puts pressure on Odegaard that when he plays, he has to produce. There's no pressure on Odegaard now because if he doesn't produce, he's still going to play.
Yeah,
Same with
of course.
Trossard, same with Martinelli, same with Havertz, obviously no striker, same with, do you know what I mean? They need a player that's of the quality that if that player now starts the next game and they, score 2 goals or get an assist or create mad chances, Odegaard or Havertz or Martinelli, they're not starting the next game.
We'll have to come in with the intent of
I
not
mean, and
playing
then when they do play, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I agree.
Because I feel like that's what I'm watching because there's no way, like as you're saying, like we're watching all these other teams play football and they're creating chances. Yes, they may not make that. They might complain and say they don't have the striker that's good enough and they miss chances, or they might have a dead left winger or something. But they might have a great number 10 and a great number 8 that maneuver the ball well and fashion the chances for players. Do you know what I mean? Arsenal we don't like. I don't know if these attackers are good enough or not good enough because they don't get enough chances for me to say. Do you know what I mean? Because let's be like,
I think that's the difficulty with both of us because I mean we ultimately come back to the board in terms of recruitment, but we don't know really, KP, because we're just going off of basically some of us are skepticizing maybe it's personnel, maybe it's tactics, maybe it's this and maybe it's that. But ultimately the sad thing is because we don't have the personnel, because we haven't really seen that for the season, and it's been a significant drop off in terms of goals in the league. You're no left to say, well, we can only hope next season we get the answer we want, and hopefully the answer is in a trophy as well that comes along with it. But for us to drop off from 91 goals scored in the league to what about order 67, 60 odd, like that 24 goal drop off. KP, just look at how many games we draw. You said 14. How many of those have we drawn 1-1, 2-1? Add another 1 goal to each of those ones. That would add up to even less than what we scored last season, but we'd have even more points. Simple math, but you get where I'm coming from. We just haven't scored enough goals, and I agree with you. There has to be some form of chance creation and some form of personnel, and I think we're just gonna have to wait and see next season. But we did manage to get the goal. Ultimately, Declan Rice took his chance. It's 19 goal contributions this season for someone who's played 8. Someone we bought as the DM who might have to play a DM sometimes next season as well. And for me, early, if I was to make a shout for early player of the season, or not even early, but if I was to make a shout for player of the season before I even really sit down and think about it, it's come down to 3 guys' names in my head: Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, David Raya. David Raya in the first half today was poor with his passing, but again, why we win this game 1-0 is down to David Raya. 4 crucial saves before we can even think about what's going on in the game. Look at the start of this season against Wolves, he made 2 brilliant saves. Against Aston Villa, he made 2 brilliant saves. Champions League to start off, he saved the penalty, then the double save. Saves throughout the season from David Raya have been incredible. Bukayo Saka, I mean, top score, one of our best players, even with injuries, top assister, would have been our top scorer as well this season. And then look at Declan Rice, 19 goal contributions from midfield, 9 goals, 10 assists. Adding those goal contributions to being a top player, I mean, how can you not say he's not worth 100 million? But let me know, what are your thoughts, KP, about the second half performance, and anybody want to big up specifically?
Yeah, I think the second half was much better. Like I'm saying, it was outstanding, but it was much better in terms of like our intent. Like I just said, it's annoying. Like, I think when we watch Arsenal, like we move the ball a bit slow, we take too long. When we have an opportunity to transition, players don't drive on the ball and carry it, and play the pass early before Newcastle get their players back and set up. But the second half we were doing that a lot, and our press was better. Like our first half press was so poor. Like Newcastle were building up out of the back quite easily sometimes as well, which was a bit worrying.
Mm-hmm.
But it was better. I think our goal came from a press from Newcastle trying to play out the back, and obviously Odegaard plays the ball into Rice, and that's Rice's trademark finish, man. That whipped kind of goal. He scored that against United, against Chelsea last season, against West Ham last season. Yeah. Obviously, about his free kick as well. So it's nice, as you said, 19 goal contributions for an 8/6. I'm pretty sure that every season he's probably increasing his output as well, which shows a player that's also improving and taking ownership and emphasis to win games and decide games, which is something that I love, and it's something I want in every player in our team. Like, I don't want it, like, I think you made a good point about obviously our goal tally being lower, and obviously there's probably the injuries do count to that. Obviously I won't ignore the fact that injuries have been a huge factor to our season derailing. Like, if Saka didn't get injured, he scores a lot more goals. Maybe, as I said, there's a lot more goals in the Premier League. Same with Havertz as well. and Jesus as well, because he kind of reached his form before he got injured. But
Yeah,
even
exactly.
with that, like we're relying on just certain players. Like it should be the whole team. Like when
Yeah,
like it's funny. I think the second half was good, and I'm happy that we won a game. I'm happy that we secured second. I don't like Newcastle, by the way. I just got to put it out there. Like I don't like their players. I don't like the fans. I don't like their coaches. I don't like I have no problem with Eddie Howe, but I don't like especially that stuff at the end when they're trying to be all not like they're just that type of team. Do you know what I mean? And I don't like them. Obviously, I'm happy that we beat them, but when you look at like Barcelona's, the PSG's, like you look at even maybe Liverpool to an extent as well this season, you look at like all of their attackers, they're all in that range of like 20 GA. Like
yeah.
the best of them are in 40 GA. Do you know what I'm saying? Like with our team, it's like and the attackers are scraping like 15 GA, like if that. Like
Literally,
which is
we have no attackers with 10 goals. We have
yeah,
nobody with 20
like
goals.
like like we should have like bench players that are on 20 GA, like essentially, and second string
Well,
players that are on
Charizard
20
was
GA.
last
And
season.
our
Like
main
that's how
player
it
should
should
be
be.
main player should be on 40 GA. That's what the level that we need to get to, because it then you're not so dependent. Like there'll be games where Saka's not going to score and he's not going to assist, but then fam, the left wing goal, the striker is going to score and assist, and it doesn't matter what Saka. And I'm saying it should be like that, and everyone's eating. Like the guys come off the bench, they're eating as well. Like that's how it should be, and we need to get there. And when we get there, trust me, I hope this summer it feels like it's going to be it. But I know we say this every year. But I'm just looking at the fact that we've got a new sporting director, the fact that we haven't spent money in the last couple of windows that much, so it looks like it's primed. Like, do you know what I mean? For us to go and at least and I've kind of come around the idea of us like being smart in terms of how we delegate the money. Like if
Yeah,
Gyökeres
me
has a
too.
60 million release
Me
clause,
too.
that makes more sense than getting a Sesko if that's 75 million. If you're trying to get a striker, unless Isak is available, which Newcastle are definitely going to get Champions League if they win next week. Doesn't really, it's not worth the money. If Zubimendi 50 million, if Nico Williams, if you can somehow get the wages down, his release clause is very low. That makes sense in terms of the price. Then you can somehow start getting depth pieces around, because it's like you've only spent like 150 on your main three positions.
And then you
Then
still
do you know what I mean?
probably
You can
have
start
150
start
left.
buying those 35 million, 20 million type players that can be good options in your squad. I hope, but
Yeah,
I'm
that's
yeah,
a big thing, because just to piggyback off of what you said in terms of filling out the squad, I think that's probably been key for us in crucial moments, because when we have had injuries this season, we've looked towards the bench, and like you made a good point in terms of what Mikel Arteta not rotating guys. If he had guys that he trusted or he entrusted, potentially like a Eze in Odegaard's position to come off the bench, I mean, we'd probably be looking at a different story. But we look at the bench, it's one Neri and maybe one more guy and three left backs. I was looking at that kind of bench from Wolves home first game of the season. Like it's only gonna end up being one thing. So definitely need to fill up the squad this season. And I do think allocating the funds in smart areas is better than spending maybe 150 plus wages on Isak. But I would love a player like Isak, because it does he raises the seat. Like if we get Isak, obviously he's a top signing, but do we have 150 million to spend on one player? I don't think so. But yeah,
that's what I'm like. It's like, because it's funny enough, yeah. It's like obviously you could get like a Gyökeres, and then if you might be able to get Isak next summer, like for example, because like for example, like say depending on what happens with Havertz, and you can use him both in midfield and as a striker position. Jesus, you're still only going to really have one striker, even if you just bring in Gyökeres, or two strikers with Havertz. Like when Jesus kind of maybe gets sold, or I don't know if his contract is over next summer, then you might be able to. If Newcastle don't do well again, is that don't sign a new contract? Like options are still there, and I'm happy that we secured second place. Obviously, I'm not like saying it's a trophy, but I'm happy that we didn't. We still showed that we was the closest to Liverpool. We was the best out of all these teams. Like we wasn't in and amongst like from a lot of these teams that are behind us have got more than 10 losses in the league. Obviously, despite our draws, we've only lost 4 games, which is only one less than the champions. So you have to think about it. Like as you said, if a couple of those with a lot of those draws were different, we'll be sitting in a different situation. Even though the season still, by our standard, the football wise, and hasn't still been the way we want it to. It still may have been different points wise because of being more clinical. But yeah, that's what I have to say, man.
That's all I have to say. Me too as well. Thank you guys for watching. More content will be coming soon. Later in the week, so don't forget to subscribe to Gunner Street Cape House Pausa. Coming up next, we'll maybe do a tier list video breaking down the season, really analyzing our player, really analyzing each single player. giving them a rating for this season and really stating how the season went from top to bottom. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to both Gunner Street and Cape Has Puzzle. We have all types of Arsenal content coming soon. This is going to be a big summer for not only Arsenal, but for us as well, as we go on the road to 2,000 and 1,000 subscribers respectively. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, people. Thank you for your love and support. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.